Welcome to my series, where I try to tell Skyrim like it was written in a book, or told in a TV series, with not just one main character who is all of a sudden the Dragonborn, but many different characters, most of which, well, all of which, but one, are not the Dragonborn. This story will be played by many different characters of all different sorts of backstories, and all different combat roles and personalities. I hope you come to enjoy watching this sort of stuff as much as I enjoy making it and playing it. If you guys enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe if you want. And of course, if you're feeling a bit chatty, drop me a comment and it'll be fun to have a conversation. Anyway, I'm gonna let you get to this. Have fun. Hey guys, just want to let you know this is a smaller character story, as in she's not a playable character, just someone that I want to kind of fill in Skyrim a bit more with a lot more stories, and we'll see her again one day when she bends the knee to the Dragon Slayer. Do not mind them, they're also part of the story, where I try to explain who they are. Anyway, I hope you enjoy, and let's get into the story.
Chapter 15, Night of Mara. My name is Mara. Yes, I know it's strange that I'm named after one of the divines, but there is a good reason for that. When my mother was a young Nord, she left Skyrim. She traveled to Hammerfell, where she took up being a priestess of Mara, the goddess of love, the god mother. While in Hammerfell, she met a young redguard who was a guard of Sentinel. They fell in love, and I came along. That would be the reason I have darker skin than most Nords. My parents moved to Sentinel, and that's where I grew up, where my parents still live. So my mother named me after the goddess of love because she hadn't loved nothing more than me, that I was love itself. So that's how I got my name. I grew up hearing stories about Skyrim from my mother, and when I was old enough, I wanted to go out on my own to explore my mother's homeland. My mother taught me love and compassion. My father taught me how to fight and show mercy when it's needed. I left home about a month ago. My mother told me to visit Riften and see the Temple of Mara, but to watch my pockets. And then Whiterun, to see the Great Tree of Kyne. She did forget to mention the mostly naked women wandering the roads. How could they show that much of themselves, or deal with this cold? Coming from a hot desert, the cold was nice, but not if you're near naked. Skyrim was certainly different, but in a good way. Its people felt warm. Well, they are my people. But you see, I've never been around this many Nords before. To me, I've always been a redguard, just a taller one. Now that I'm in Skyrim, I can learn more about my people, our traditions and history. It somehow feels like home, and I've only been here for a month. I did miss my parents, though. Very much so. Being in the Temple of Mara made me feel close to home. Like my mother was in the next room singing.
Wonderful. Where to begin? Mara is the goddess of love. The temple spreads her gifts by tending to the sick, the poor, and the lost. We also perform wedding ceremonies for all the loving couples in Skyrim. Yes, if you were ready, of course. Are you familiar with how marriage works in Skyrim? Typically, love in Skyrim is as earnest as the people who live here. Life is hard and short, so there's little room for long courtship. A person who is looking for a spouse simply wears an amulet of Mara about the neck, showing they are available. When another person shows interest and the two agree to be together, one of them comes to the temple and we arrange a ceremony. Of course. I'd be more than happy to add a donation to our charity box. Right now, the best you could provide is coin. We need all the help we can get. Thank you. I can promise you that this will be put to good use.
I learned that the Nords get married under Mara, that they wear Mara's amulets to show they are looking for marriage. Mine was my mother's. I keep it close to my heart when I'm missing her. I really hope people don't ask me to marry them. It's not yet my time for any sort of marriage. I spent all day in the temple. The night had fallen, so I needed a nice place to rest. And I'd come back tomorrow. The bee and barb sounded warm and comfy, so that's where I would fill my belly and rest my head. It was quite late, so the inn was quiet. I liked that. It was more relaxing, though there was an uneasiness about the place, like I was being watched.
Meat? Wine?
I sat down for a drink, and in the corner beside the fire, this figure in the darkness was staring at me. Kinda made me feel like I was food. Looked like someone who didn't want to be seen or bothered, and I didn't want the trouble, so I was off to bed. The place was warm, but I woke to the sound of rain hitting the roof. I loved that sound. Rain was kind of a new thing for me in Skyrim, for it was rare in Sentinel. I loved the sound, the smell, and the feel of it on my skin. And there they were again, those women wearing black, or next to nothing. Who were they? Must be strong if they can handle the elements wearing more skin than armor. Lady Mara bids you welcome to her benevolence. We are devoted to the goddess Mara, who gave mortals the gift of love, that they might have a hint of eternity. Her blessings are many. To love is to know the true nature of the gods. Not all can hear the broad echoes of deepest dawn. To receive the touch of Mara, you must first act as her hands in the world. Explore the facets of the infinite jewel. Are you prepared, then, to help bring the light across this land? So I would go on a quest to receive Mara's blessing. I would help people find their love. It being the love of youth, or a more matured love, or that of eternal love that follows us after death. Your efforts have helped illuminate the entire province. I trust by now you've achieved a higher comprehension of love. Carry the blessings of Mara with you so the rest of the province may shine with her glories. It was time to head west, to Whiterun. Mother told me the city was beautiful, that it stood tall over the land, and inside stood a beautiful tree, planted by Kinnereth herself. It looked just as Mother said, and the rain made it so much more beautiful. There was much construction being done on Whiterun's defenses. From what I've heard, Whiterun was sieged by the Stormcloaks weeks ago. I hope all the citizens survived. Whiterun looked freeing, like it had air to breathe. It's Skyrim's city of trade. It has some of the biggest farms in all of Skyrim. You could say it's the heart of Skyrim, for its trade and agriculture. It would be the perfect place to live if ever I wanted to move here. Plus, it had a handsome bard who played fine music. I would see this tree after some food and rest. The Great Tree. It was dead. It was disappointing to come all this way to find the Great Tree in such a state. Something was telling me that I needed to find out if I could help, and that's what I did.
It's a shame, isn't it? This is the Gildergreen. It was planted as a seedling in the early years of Whiterun. Disciples of Kinnereth could sense something holy in it, and traveled far to hear the winds of the goddess in its branches. They built the temple. Of course, not as many pilgrims these days. To the east of here is a hidden grove where the Eldergleam resides. It's the oldest living thing in Skyrim, maybe all of Tamriel. Our tree here in the city was grown from a cutting of that tree. You can still feel the glory of the mother tree through it. Even its name is an echo. I've thought about that. Trees like this never really die, they only slumber. I think if we had some of the sap from the parent tree, we could wake up its child. But even if you could get to the Eldergleam, you couldn't tap it. Not with any normal metal. Eldergleam is older than metal, from a time before men or elves. To even affect it, you have to tap into the old magic. You'll have to deal with the Hagravens. I've heard about the weapon they've made for sacrificing Spriggans. It's called Nettlebane. The hags terrify me, or I would have gone after it myself. Your spirit is strong. Kinnereth's winds will guide your path. It's held in a Hagraven nest called Orphan Rock.
and so I would be called to help the people of Skyrim once more. But I'd have to face off against great evil. Luckily, a woman praying wished to help me, that her traveling companion would be able to lend us some extra hands. She told me to wait a day, and she should have the support we need. So I'd go to the inn and wait. There I'd listen to good music and share some ale. Maybe a little too much ale, and way too much wine. And some rather heated, steamy moments encouraged by alcohol. After all the fun was said and done, it was time to rest, to set off and restore this great tree back to its former glory. Those women again. They must be the extra hands to deal with these witches so we can retrieve this knife. There was a small army of them. This quest must mean a lot to them too. Vina would introduce her traveling companion, a rather remarkable Nord barbarian called Freya. She would lead these women of the North, a cult of warrior women seeking freedom and honor. I kinda liked them. They looked strong. Freya would tell me she was one of them for a few years before going out on her own. But as she describes it, once a woman of the North, always a woman of the North. That you're never alone when you need sisters. That they take in all sorts of women, from bandits to vampires to werewolves or those left for dead in battles. That all sorts of women that wanted to be free would join. From wives, mothers, or nobles. All would come because of their love for other women. So they love the company of other women. Not many places accept the same kind of person being together. Least of all most of Skyrim. The Empire doesn't care for it. So some Nords here don't either. But those Eastern pro-Ulfric Nords think it's all wrong. Why can't love just be love? Why let somebody suffer their entire lives because they aren't allowed to feel complete? Because they love the same kind of person? The reasoning behind their rather fleshy appearance? Well, that's because it's a sign of how free they are. The black is the color of the outcast, and that armor is taken from their dead enemies. Plus, they love to fight and earn gold and glory. We were here. The foul witches would protect their small piece of Skyrim with their lives. We would make sure of it, to spare none that create such evils in the world. Their foul magic would feel like your soul was being lit on fire. How could people create such darkness and pain willingly? Such things needed to be stopped. I would cut down the abomination that led this foul group of women and retrieve the blade we needed. It looked ugly. This blade was made for the foul arts of dark magic. In the battle against great evil, we lost some women of the North, but there wasn't sadness for them. But this was a great accomplishment to die in battle beside your sisters. One of them was even a grandmother who mothered many women of the North. She fought and lived as a fierce warrior. We would return to the Temple of Kinnereth with news on our victory.
So, have you gotten Nettlebane back from those filthy hag ravens yet? Oh, I honestly didn't expect you to come back. Of course I'm glad you did. Now, I don't really want to touch that thing, though. Do you think you could handle the next steps? Eldergleam Sanctuary Grove is to the east of here. You can use Nettlebane to retrieve some of its sap.
We would all rest the night. It seems that Vina and Freya weren't just traveling companions, but also lovers. It seems Vina liked women, but didn't want to be one of these women of the North. I guess that goes with their freedom to be who you want to be. But lend a hand to other women when they need it. I'm not a fan of sleeping with women. I've never tried it. But I find their clan to be noble of heart, true protectors of Skyrim. We would rest and honor the fallen. Tomorrow we would set off to complete this quest and restore the Great Tree for the people of Skyrim. We all had extra motive to finish this, to not let their deaths be in vain. We arrived. This place looked so beautiful. It was warm and light, like I had never breathed air as fresh as this. The tree's roots were massive. After all, this had been here since the start of time. Many others come across Skyrim and even Tamriel to see this place.
Amazing that such beauty could exist in a place as desolate as the volcanic wonder. Praise Kinnereth for allowing such beauty in the world. You are in Eldergleam Sanctuary. Just a small glimpse of what beauty Kinnereth has to offer. Wonderful place, isn't it? Yes, my friend. Though no one has been able to get close to her for as long as I can remember. As you can see, Eldridling's roots are large and stretch far, blocking any path to her trap. Though, believe it or not, there are rumors of a weapon that even Eldridling herself would lift her roots for, more out of fear than respect. The rumors are true. I beg of you, don't harm the tree. Nothing good can come of it. You don't know what you're dealing with. There will be consequences if you harm that tree. Leave this place. You're not ready.
I didn't want to harm the tree, but I needed this sap, so Whiterun's tree could be brought back. So others across Skyrim could see Kinnereth's beauty without having to risk their lives in the wilds to get here. Guardians of Kinnereth defended the tree. I didn't feel too good about cutting them down with the very knife made to murder them. It was for the greater good.
Do you have the Eldergleam sap? Wonderful. I'll use it to repair the tree. Thank you so much for all your help. Be careful.
We returned the sap, so the great tree could live once more, and all of Skyrim could see her once more. If it was to look anything like its mother, it was going to make Whiterun the most beautiful hold in Skyrim. I only hope Kinnereth blesses the people of Whiterun in the future. I was to return to the roads and take up bounty hunting and bring justice to those who needed it, and lend a hand where I could. Until Skyrim calls for my services once more, I will be waiting for the call.
Welcome to the intro. So here I'm going to talk about Mara, a new character we've seen, it's already in Skyrim, and of course, the Women of the North. Now, Mara, she was created because I come across her hair while I was making those Women of the North. I generally don't really like it. I don't like the style. But it reminded me of a character I saw in a show that I watched shortly before seeing this hairstyle, and it was called She-Ra. It was a really gay animation. Like, it's on Netflix. It's fucking pretty much 90% of the people know it are gay. Based off like the He-Man Chronicles, with like there's a She-Ra version of He-Man. But anyway, so there was this character called Mara, and she was a dark-skinned human woman that was the She-Ra before the current TV series She-Ra. She was the first one, and she died, and eventually, whatever, the hero picks up the sword and becomes the new She-Ra. So, what we're going to do here is, I'm going to show you the inspiration, because of the hairstyle. Now, this is kind of the reason why I gave her a darker skin tone, and, well, again, because the She-Ra in that series is rather tan, or dark-skinned, either way you want to look at it, and this is her hairstyle, pretty much. So, also, this Mara, her inspiration takes a lot from that She-Ra. That She-Ra was a heroic character that died saving lives and was a good person, your typical heroine, a white knight. And she takes a lot from that character, of course. Now, her backstory is she was born, raised in Hammerfell, because her mother was a young lord that went to Hammerfell, fell in love, started a family and stayed. And she's venturing her mother's homeland, and she's got darker skin. I don't know if I can kind of lice here in Skyrim. She's not your typical pale-skinned Nord. She has a lot of her father's genetics in her. So she's got that sort of a slight touch of redguard in her skin, and she's got the black hair and the brown eyes. So I went with that to kind of make her fit a bit more with the Mara from She-Ra. And of course, her father being a guard, that means that she learns how to fight. She knows about mercy, she knows about justice. Generally a good person. Her father was a great inspiration when it comes to being a good person, a good man. And her mother being, well, once a priestess of Mara, teaches her love and compassion. So she's a typical white knight, a heroic, good soul, raised by a really good bunch of people, wanting to spread that to other people. Now, I'm going to show you what that She-Ra actually looks like from the TV series, and you can kind of understand why, when I found that hair, I created her. Now, funny enough, when I created her, about a week after that, I deleted my modding folder by accident, that was shit. And the first time I made her, my hard drive died like a month after. So I think this character is cursed. But hopefully that curse has ended. So let me show you real quick what is the inspiration I took to make her design. Now this is kind of the Mara. Now as you can see, she's not pale white, she's got a bit of... Oh hello. She's got a bit of tanniness to her, and her hairstyle. I mean, look at that goddamn hairstyle, man. It's pretty much identically the same in Chaos Hairdos's hairstyle. So I thought, why not? And so I took that hairstyle, I made a character that looked somewhat similar. As you can see, she's got silver eyes. I didn't want to go for that. I did try it. Looked a little bit sus looking. Could have worked though, because she's, you know, mostly Nord. But I went with that, and I kind of built Mara's character to be an inspiration of this character. That she is she's a do-gooder. She helps people. She stands for justice. She stands for helping people and doing the right thing. So that's kind of what Mara is. So that was the reasoning behind her sort of thing. Now the reason I introduced her into her own little story, even though she's not a playable character, she will be a follower to a certain somebody in the future, this sort of main character, and I wanted to establish her in the game. I didn't want her to be someone that came from a different country to aid the Dragonborn. I wanted her to be that person that's been in Skyrim for at least 4 to 5 months, exploring, travelling, working on the farms, working as a bounty hunter, generally helping people out, just experiencing the life of Skyrim when all of a sudden the mountains and the world shakes and screams, Dovahkiin. And when she realises what's going on, she then tries to track down the Dovahkiin, and she bends the knee to serve the Slayer of Dragons. I mean, the Mother of Dragons. I mean, the Slayer. I get confused sometimes. I just keep seeing like Targaryen and Septim bloodlines without all the inbreeding. And she'll bend the knee, and she will serve as a follower towards the Dragonborn. But she's already here. She's already been in Skyrim for some time. Where a few of the characters that you get to meet in the future have either been here but haven't been active, or come from different countries across Tamriel. And that's the kind of way I wanted to do it. So I just wanted to show you her before one day you see her again, and at the moment she's important, yes, but when we meet her again, we'll be playing a different character. A rather important one, obviously. And, well, Mara could die in that situation. She could be cooked up by dragonflies, which will make her story so much more important because she's left a mark on Skyrim. And hopefully, you know, you've watched her and thought she's quite a good character, and it'll be a miss to all of us if she dies. It's just a matter of if I can record it when it happens, if it happens. All the characters that will follow me, apart from a couple, won't be essential, and they can die. Now the Women of the North, I want to get to this. I know they're a bit of a pain in the ass to kind of fit into immersion, but give me a second to explain. Now the Women of the North, as you can see, are a bit unimmersive in certain regards, but I tried to work it to kind of be a certain viewpoint. There's always some sort of weird cults and those sort of things in any story in the game. So I thought I'd definitely give it a go with this, even though I made these guys when I was like 19. I mean, that was years ago. I'm almost... Well, that was probably... I would have started these guys when I was 10 years ago. And every single character you see here is kind of... It's a bridge that's created the characters that I show in these stories, like Cecilia and Freya. They were all created because of this work I did here. This is probably my most recent one, my newest, and I probably would have fixed her up last year. And like, I don't make these girls anymore. I just don't. I've got like 400 of them, 500 of them plus. There's a lot of them. So I haven't made them for a good couple of years. I made this one to test around with the idea of like a player character, or like a certain character that was once a vampire, as you can see with her face, that became human again. But she, her face was morphed because she was a vampire for more than 150 years. Maybe she's 700 years old, but she became mortal, and now she ages normally, but her face is still messed up looking. It still looks the way it did when she was a vampire, and she'll die looking like that. That's why she's called First of the Mortal. It's kind of built of like what would Cecilia look like if she became mortal in the story. And this is my recent one. Now, the whole trying to make it part of the story, I wanted them to be in it. I didn't want them to just be walking around as like an eyesore or like this unimportant part of the story, so I wanted to kind of include them, and this story I did. They are generally barbarian women that fight for women. They're feminists, but in a good way. Equal rights, equal fights. And they wear the armour of their fallen enemies, those that have tried to hurt them or control them, and they dye it black or paint it black in black ebony, melted black ebony. and they fit for their bodies, and all of them wear different bodies. Like this one's wearing 7B, this one's wearing CBB, different shapes, of course, of those presets. I don't know, man. I really enjoyed making them at the time, of course, because they're quite good to look at. And I thought I'd turn them into something I could play in a story. Women that have left what life they left behind and became women of the North, to fight for women, to also be in love with women. Because maybe Skyrim's half of it's kind of pro-Ulfric, pro-racist, considering one isn't a Nord, and so if they're going to be racist, they're going to be homophobic. Where the western side is going to be a lot more imperial influence, and I see the Empire as like the Roman Empire that didn't really care till Christianity. They didn't really care about who you laid with as long as you were you were a benefit towards the Roman Empire. So same thing with Empire. They don't care. They don't care at all about who you sleep with in Cyrodiil. Say, you know, two men can be fucking and no one gives a shit. Where in Skyrim it's a little bit different because they're a bit more northern, a bit more rustic, where it all depends on the imperial influence. In the east, of course, that shit's not going to be accepted. They're going to hate homosexuality, you know. Where in the west it's going to be a bit, you know, a bit more pro, and people won't really care that much. But there'll be certain bits and pieces all over Skyrim that either do care or don't care. Now these chicks, they live that life where it's like, we don't care if you know what we are. We don't give a shit. We will fight for our right to do what we want. You know, we'll follow the rules of Skyrim, the laws of Skyrim. We won't be bandits, but we will not tolerate people telling us what we should do and who we should love. And so it's whole entire barbarian. Jesus Christ, I'm gonna get fined real soon. That's the one I gotta fix up. So yeah, the whole experience, whole entire thing of them is it's inspired from Mandalorian battle culture and Amazonian sort of pro-female, be with females kind of mentality. Not all of them are lesbian, of course. They're bisexual, lesbian. Some of you might even be straight, you know, because they go off and they have children. They're always blessed with having girls. So there's some Daedric influence there, and they recruit any woman. It'd be someone that was left for dead on the battlefield, like a Stormcloak or an Imperial, a vampire that surrendered themselves or wanted to join, a werewolf, a Daedric cultist, an escaped criminal. Doesn't really matter. They will take in whoever, and it becomes sort of like a sisterhood where if they survive their training, they become a woman of the North. Blah blah blah. It's like the Night's Watch, I guess you can say, but for females. So it's a bit like that. I try to, you know, those that are women of the North, they're built different. They are warriors, and the reason they're so flashy is because it's also a mark of their survival, their grit. They are strong enough to survive the cold, to withstand it. You know, you won't find them in places like Winterhold or Dawnstar. Sometimes you might find them in Windhelm, but they'll be getting out there pretty quickly because it's too cold for what they're wearing. And that's the whole entire idea of going to the North, and I want to include them in the story. But kind of the problem is the front of them's covered up, back of them not so much. So I can't get too many shots of that because the CBB butt cheeks do cover up a lot of things. I'm not sure what the rules are on YouTube about open butt cheeks. But maybe the UMP bodies don't always, and I don't want to be strict with another goddamn hit with another nudity friggin' policy. So it's pretty hard, you know, having to have their asses out of the shots. But again, I do have two rather mature scenes in this story where two people are having a bit of fun. So yeah, I just want to explain the Women of the North, so they can I can try and mold them into a part of the story. Think of them as a cult or a clan of women that wanted to be free and broke from the normal societies to create their own little piece of what they felt was theirs. And they fight for it. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the story of Mara. We'll see her again. Like I said, when we see her again, she'll become a follower to a certain somebody, and there could be a very good chance that she will cop a certain fire breath and be turned to a crispy barbecue. So, hopefully not, but again, those stories will write themselves. Anyway, catch us later. Have a good one. Look out yourselves. Peace!